I take a different approach than most. I always took a different approach. I can't be like sleazy or salesy. I have to be genuine and authentic and have genuine relationships. So a lot of times I stayed away from different things that made it just like, this is what everybody's doing. And it felt very, salesy or inauthentic. So I kind of stick with the things that just reflected me. And so there was a point in time where, I'd be blogging and I'm like, I'm not really saying anything. So then I switched over to, having more conversations in webinars, and that seemed to be more me, to kind of put more webinars out there for different types of clients and have those types of workshops and stuff, like teaching. I was like, that's it. Okay. And now I found my niche. Like, I really like to instruct my clients. I really like to teach them things. And so I kind of found and navigated where that meant. Almost majority of all my new web clients came from referrals. So I just nurtured my current clients in my list rather than trying to really put out a lot of I did profiles for making everything legit, right? She's a real company, she's a real person, and would engage in that way. But I never wanted to say anything if I didn't have anything to say. And so that's how I played it. I would put out content, especially in my web agency space, when I felt like there was something to say, really focused on my list and nurturing my list. The website then just kind of morphed from, this is how everybody does their website, to then, this sounds more like me. And this, it just sounds more like something my clients would like to read and understand, and would reach out to me based on it sounding more authentic and genuine. So that's the approach I always took with an online presence. I always say, if I'm talking to people about online presence, I'm always like, if you walked in a room and there was a whole bunch of people there who are potential clients, what would you do? What would you say? Who would you pull aside? How would you speak to people? Online, it's no different. If you enter into a Facebook group and you like jump right in, you're like, hey, I offer such and such services, hit me up. Like, that's like running into a room and being like, hey, I offer such and such services, hit me up. And everyone's looking at you like, what? Like, it's just awkward. Right.
Yeah.
So I always feel like that you to play it like it's a room, and approach people, start talking to them, build a relationship, see how they're doing, what are their needs. And then it naturally segues into the fact that you do these things. That's how I like to look at it. I don't like to look at it as like a set of rules of things you need to do, but like, if it was a real place with real people, how would you interact with that? Where would you go? What would you do? Would you take a lot of selfies? If that's you, then go for it. But that wasn't me, so I wasn't going to do that.
Definitely. I think it's so important to be genuine, because it bleeds through into everything that you say, and people are more likely to trust you, more likely to connect with you as a human being, and be willing to trust you with their money, with their business, if you can stand by what you say. So yeah, I think authenticity is extremely important. And now I'd like to take it and narrow it down a little bit more. So how do you take your online presence and then use it to build a brand? Because while you can be present out there online and exist, how do you make yourself recognizable so that people can see anything that you've created and say, oh, I know that's Kristina.
Yeah, right.
I want to watch it and I want to see it.
You have to really figure out who you serve best. So, it's a niche, kind of defining that. And it can be a person, place, or thing. It doesn't have to be, I serve fitness coaches. And I mean, it could be, I serve fitness coaches that want membership websites with courses and who want to actually grow to be influencers, then you got to kind of broaden it a little bit from there. But kind of understanding who you serve is really, really helpful. Then you're able to morph your brand. And I think it evolves. So the trick is, most people starting out, they're like, I must have my niche. And I mean, you kind of don't know early on what you like to do and who you like to serve. So it's not a bad idea to start offering like a whole bunch of things and work with all different kinds of people. It's definitely more stressful that way, but you then begin to know like what you do well and where you're skilled at, where you want to focus and things like that. So you begin to niche in certain areas, and then your conversations become more specific. And then that's kind of where the brand comes from. It kind of comes out of those situations. For the longest time, after like as building my business, I started teaching other web professionals how to build their business. And one of the things I just couldn't stop talking about was website care plans. I just thought it revolutionized everything for me. And I just talked about website care plans every single place I was, and just wherever I went, whoever I talked to. And I just became known as that person. And then I developed this brand that I kind of run now since selling my agency, which is WP Care Market, which is all about website care plans and client relationships. And that kind of came out of, again, that thing you end up really loving to talk about and are passionate about. And sometimes it takes time, and you can pivot along the way. You may have that thing that you do, and then you change your mind and do something else. So I think that's what you do. You have to niche in order to define what your brand is.